Hey folks, welcome to the channel, The Agnostic Philosopher. I'm Don. You saw the title, Hitchens and His Distaste for Islam. Now, it isn't just Islam that Hitchens doesn't like. He doesn't like religion, period. So, Islam certainly, being a religion, would fall under the purview of what he does not like because he doesn't believe in a supernatural being. So, let's find out. I don't know what his deal is on this one. He generally would go after Christianity just because being a Brit and also spending time in America, you'd be more exposed to Christianity. I don't see him much going after Judaism, but that's not sort of within. I mean, the Church of England is obviously Christian, and so growing up in that environment, because he's a Brit, that would draw more of your attention. But Jews tend not to proselytize, Christians do, and that is a big bugaboo for some folks where it's like, hey, can't you just keep your opinions to yourself? Do you have to keep trying to convert me? But let's see what he says about Islam.
As a Sufi Muslim, I'm very ruffled by the title of your book. Did you have to settle for the literal negation of Allahu Akbar?
Yes. I thought so. Thank you for that question. Thank you. At the moment, it's very clear to me the most toxic form that religion takes is the Islamic form. The horrible idea of wanting to end up with Sharia, the state of religious law, and that the best means of getting there is jihad, holy war, and that Muslims have a special right to feel aggrieved enough to demand this, I think is absolute obscene wickedness, and I think their religion is nonsense. God speaks to some illiterate merchant warlord in Arabia, and it contains the answers to all human. Don't waste my time. It's bullshit.
But you're saying the same about it.
Also, that God speaks, the Archangel Gabriel speaks only Arabic. All religions claim to be revealed truth, but Islam rather dangerously says, ours is the last and final one. There can't be any more after this. This is God's last word. Now, that's straight away a temptation to violence and intolerance, and if you note, it's a temptation they seem quite willing to fall for. Every Allahu Akbar reminds people that we're in a very serious struggle with a very depraved religion.
Hey, well, he spoke his mind there. I mean, I understand his points too. I didn't know that Islam considers that Islamists consider Islam to be the final religion and that there be none after this. But I would expect the Christians think the same thing. But the caveat, I guess, that he just threw in there is that with Islam, they're willing to do violence to make sure that it's not subordinated to some Johnny-come-lately religion or some alteration of it. And then moving toward, of course, Hitchens does not like Sharia law, naturally. Very few people do, would like that. But his opposition is that he doesn't want religionists running things. But certainly the call to violence and all that, yeah. And I can't say what most Muslims are. I know when I was in Israel about a dozen years ago or so, spent a couple of weeks, we flew into Amman, Jordan, and then we went over went through the checkpoint and then into Israel, and then we spent time there, went to the West Bank and all this stuff. But when I was walking on Ben Yehuda with some of my friends, that's an outdoor sort of mall, and there are shops all along it, and it's very cool. And the thing is about Israel, if you've never been there, is it is multiracial, multi-ethnic. And on Ben Yehuda, the shop owners, you had Jews, you had Muslims, you had Christians, and it's not as politically correct in the United States. And so you could just ask somebody, are you Muslim? And they would not be offended by it. They wouldn't be offended if you said, are you a Jew? Like, people just were not offended at that. In the United States, like, we're taught to be like, oh my gosh, how could you categorize me? Even though half the politicians categorize people, but that's a political discussion. But over there was much more freedom to just talk with people. They saw it as an invitation to tell you about their family, their grandparents, great-grandparents, their heritage, all this stuff. And it was very enjoyable. But I can tell you that I remember talking, every single shop owner there said they hate the violence. They hate it. They wish it would stop. They wish each side would stop. So even if you were talking with a Muslim, you'd be like, we do not like this violence. And they didn't like it coming from their side of the aisle, if you will, and they didn't like it from the other. And the same thing with Jews and the same thing with Christians, because believe it or not, I don't think it's 10% of Israelis are Christian, but there are Christians in Israel too. it's very, Tel Aviv is much more liberal than Jerusalem, but, Jerusalem or Yerushalayim itself is, you have people of every stripe there as well, but it is more conservative, as you might expect. But Tel Aviv is sort of like the, I don't know, maybe like the New York or maybe like the San Francisco of Israel. Maybe not a fair depiction, but not far off. And people don't want it. They just don't want the violence. But there are certain ideologies, as Hitchens pointed out, that, in the Quran, it does, jihad and holy war and all this in the name of your God is justified. And that is dangerous. And I know even like on the Christian side where people think it's okay to bomb abortion clinics. And that hasn't happened recently, but it was much more in vogue when the abortion clinics were more springing up and Planned Parenthood and all this stuff was coming up. And then Christian activists were deciding that this is not right. You're killing babies and we're going to make our point. And is that the way to make a point? That's not exactly civil disobedience. It's uncivil wreckage. And Hitchens is applying that here to some of the general tenets of Islam. And we do see it playing out on the world stage in ways. And Hitchens, unapologetic. He was he's passed since, but he was absolutely unapologetic. And I admire that part of him. I do. I mean, whether I agree or disagree, I don't agree with anything. I don't agree with everything anybody says, but of course, there's a lot of basis. There's a basis to what Hitchens has to say, and much of what he has to say, just the way he says it is so acerbic in ways, or just gritty that you're like, whoa, all right, dude. So, all right, guys, go leave your comments, and if you have an idea of topic you want me to cover, bring it. I'm agnostic. I don't mind looking at atheistic arguments, theistic arguments, and I'll share my thoughts and go from there. Have a great day. I'll see you on another video and keep thinking philosophically.